The Trolls of Hinkley Woods. It was a cold autumn evening when Charlie and his friends, Sarah and Dave, decided to explore the forest outside Hinkley, Minnesota. The trees loomed high, their branches skeletal against the fading twilight. Their destination, the old Indian burial ground that lay hidden deep within the woods. They'd heard the stories for years. The place was haunted, cursed even. But tonight, curiosity overcame caution. "You sure about this?" Sarah asked, her breath visible in the frigid air. "I've heard some pretty messed up things about this place." Charlie shrugged, holding the flashlight in front of him as they pushed through the dense underbrush. "It's just a bunch of old legends. We'll be fine." The path to the burial ground was rarely traveled, known only to the locals. The deeper they ventured, the quieter it became. Even the sound of rustling leaves seemed to vanish, leaving only the eerie creak of trees swaying in the wind. But Hinkley had more than one legend. The burial ground was one thing, the trolls were another. For as long as anyone could remember, people warned of the strange creatures that lurked among the trees after dark. Trolls, they called them, though no one had ever seen them and lived to tell the tale. Supposedly, they were ancient beings, once protectors of the land, but twisted over time by anger and hatred. They roamed the woods, emerging from the trees themselves, guarding the burial grounds with a hunger for trespassers. The three continued walking, the forest growing denser and darker. Charlie noticed something odd every few feet. The trees seemed wrong. The bark was knotted, bulging in grotesque shapes. In the low light, they almost looked like faces frozen in expressions of agony. "Do you see that?" Dave whispered, pointing to one of the trees. His hand trembled as his flashlight caught the shape. There was no denying it now. Something was off. The gnarled bark wasn't natural. It looked like it was watching them. Sarah swallowed hard, her voice cracking as she spoke. "Maybe we should turn back." "We're almost there," Charlie insisted, his voice filled with false bravado. "Don't chicken out now." They pressed on, but the sense of being watched grew unbearable. Shadows danced between the trees, and every now and then the wind carried a low, guttural groan like the earth itself was in pain. Finally, they reached the burial ground. The clearing opened up before them, a circle of small stone markers barely visible in the overgrown grass. The air was thick, heavy with something unspoken. "We made it," Charlie said, trying to force a laugh. But no one smiled. The oppressive silence of the place weighed on them. Dave was the first to hear it, a faint, rhythmic thudding, like something enormous moving through the forest. "Do you hear that?" he asked, turning his head toward the noise. They all froze, ears straining to catch the sound. The thudding grew louder, closer. It wasn't footsteps exactly, it was something heavier. Sarah's flashlight flickered and died. "Oh, no, 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 no." Charlie's pulse raced as his own flashlight began to flicker. The forest around them seemed to pulse with life, and then they saw it. From the trees themselves, something was moving. At first, it looked like the bark was peeling away, but then they realized the trees were becoming something else. Huge, lumbering figures emerged from the wood, their skin rough and jagged like the very trees they came from. Eyes glowed a sickly yellow as their enormous, twisted forms stepped into the clearing. "Trolls," Sarah gasped, backing away. "The legends ... they're real." Charlie tried to run, but his legs felt like lead. One of the trolls turned its head toward him, and for the first time he could see its face fully. It was as if the tree itself had been carved into a grotesque, human-like shape-sharp, jagged features with a mouth full of splintered teeth. Its breath was rancid, smelling of rot and soul. "They don't want us here," Dave muttered in a panic. He need to go now. But it was too late. The trolls moved slowly, but purposefully, their enormous hands dragging along the ground. One by one, the ancient creatures surrounded them, blocking any path of escape. The ground beneath the trio trembled with each step the trolls took, and soon all Charlie could hear was his own heartbeat, pounding in his ears. With a deep, guttural roar, the first troll lunged. Its tree-like limbs were impossibly fast for something so massive. Charlie dodged at the last second, but Sarah wasn't as lucky. A thick, gnarled hand wrapped around her, lifting her off the ground as she screamed in terror. "Sarah!" Charlie yelled, but the troll didn't stop. It squeezed tighter, and her screams were silenced. Dave tried to run, but another troll swung its massive arm, knocking him to the ground. The sound of cracking bones echoed through the clearing. Charlie stood frozen, terror paralyzing him as the trolls closed in. Their eyes gleamed with a malevolent hunger. He had led them here, and now they would pay the price. Just before the darkness consumed him, Charlie understood. The trolls were not just protectors of the burial ground. They were the burial ground ancient, vengeful spirits given form, and no one who trespassed would leave Hinkley Woods alive.